was bad news for Russia this week when one of the best-known credit ratings agencies downgraded its assessment of the country's creditworthiness. This despite Moscow's claims that Russia's massive oil and raw materials reserves will shield it from the worst of the global financial storm. To try to discover the truth, we sent our correspondent Rupert Wingfield-Hayes to Russia's industrial heartland, the Urals. He's been to the city of Magnitogorsk, home to Russia's biggest steelworks. But not everyone seemed pleased he was there.
As a giant drill taps into the base of a blast furnace, a jet of molten iron bursts forth at more than 1,000 degrees Celsius. This is Magnitogorsk, a Soviet-era colossus built in the 1930s on the orders of Joseph Stalin. In recent years, Magnitogorsk has risen like a phoenix from the ashes of communism, this time carried on a tide of demand from the capitalist world.
Everything about this place is absolutely immense. There are 8 of these enormous blast furnaces, and at full capacity they can pump out more than 1 million tons of steel every month. And that's exactly what they have been doing up until last month, when suddenly the orders stopped coming.
Just how bad things are here is hard to tell. The company will only say that production has been cut temporarily by 1/3. The workers are careful to toe the company line too, and to point the finger of blame at the West.
We're told everything will be okay. Things will pick up again soon.
Russia will survive it. It's all America's fault. But give it 3 or 4 months, and the plant will be working at full capacity again.
That seems hugely optimistic. A few meters away, another scene tells a very different story. There are no burning rivers of iron here. This huge furnace, cold and empty, is being torn apart. Half the furnaces here have now been shut down. Magnitogorsk is truly a Soviet creation. In 1929, thousands of workers crossed the Urals to build the greatest steelworks in the world here. It would propel Russia into the industrial age. "80 years later, the steelworks still dominates life here. Outside the main gate, pensioners who once laboured in the plant now get by selling cigarettes to the next generation. On the corner, the local grocery is a direct barometer of life inside the steelworks. Inside, there's a steady trickle of customers. But the shop's owner, Viktor Melnikov, says his shelves are groaning with unsold stock.
People are buying only cheap things now, like bread and milk. Our cash flow is way down. We are selling 15% less. It's because of the problems at the steel plant, and I fear it will get even worse.
But Viktor's cash flow problems are nothing to what we found out next. In a tiny flat on the edge of Magnitogorsk, I've come to meet Taslima Sharapova. This photo is of her 24-year-old son, Ruslan. Last month, he came home from the plant desperate with worry. His salary had been cut in half. Depressed and in debt, he went to his bedroom and hanged himself.
He left a note. It said, "Mother, I love you, but I'm deep in debt. So I'm taking all my problems away with me." How can they just cut people's salaries like this? Ruslan wasn't the first person who'd committed suicide at the plant. He told me somebody else had hanged himself, somebody who'd had a mortgage.
Magnitogorsk is awash with rumours of other suicides and of thousands of layoffs. We've been trying all day to find someone who'll talk to us about what's going on here, but so far without success. One local journalist told us that he'd been called and warned that he'd be in big trouble if he meets with us. Now it appears we're being followed. Check out the Silver Larder, number 642. Here it is again, and again. Look at the man in the front seat. He's keeping a very close eye on us. Eventually we do manage to find one worker who's willing to talk, but not on camera. He says the plant management has ordered a total blackout on all bad news.
People say Stalin was cruel. Well, not much has changed since then. If you speak out against the management, very nasty things can happen.
What would happen to you if the plant found out that you had talked to us?
I'd be in trouble. An ordinary worker like me can't talk to journalists unless it's been approved by the bosses.
From atop a windswept hill above the city, Magnitogorsk looks like a sprawling relic of the Soviet Union. As the economic crisis begins to bite hard here, the reaction of the authorities is starting to feel very Soviet too.